At the start of the movie, a young Andrew is attending a bar mitzvah. His eyes are glued to the older woman hosting the party, Bella. He's mesmerized and smitten. When she's out of sight, Andrew looks for her and sees her in the hallway having a phone conversation while crying. However, the woman has no time to be sad. She has a party to host. Later, Andrew talks to his mom in private and reveals he is in love with someone. His mom is excited at first, thinking it's just an innocent crush, but her expression turns serious when Andrew reveals he loves Bella. Her only response is to ask Andrew if he's sure. After the party, Andrew musters the courage to approach Bella and awkwardly confess his feelings to her, stuttering as he tries to ask her out on a date. Not wanting to go to jail, Bella acknowledges Andrew's feelings and tells him she's too old for him. The next thing we see is a broken-hearted Andrew riding in the back of his parents' car. Without saying a word, his mom moves to the back seat to comfort him, and thus concludes Andrew's first heartbreak. Fast forward to 10 years later, Andrew is partying hard with his friends, enjoying his youth. When he's alone with his girlfriend Maya, she asks him what he plans to do after college. Andrew makes jokes, but he's actually not sure about his future plans. He mentions going to Barcelona with her, but she doesn't find this response amusing. After giving each other an emotional hug, Maya asks him the same question one more time. This time, Andrew gives a serious answer, stating he'll find a non-profit organization to work at. Immediately after he says this, the scene cuts to him working at a fast food place inside a mall. He finds time to send Maya a voicemail during his free time. One night during a family dinner, Andrew's mom tells him to take his stepbrother David to a bar mitzvah party. While they're catching up on some recent news, it's clear that Andrew doesn't like his stepfather Greg. The older man is a prude, often telling Andrew to watch his language, dampening the mood. As a response, Andrew throws sarcastic remarks at Greg whenever he can. In the next scene, the brothers are wearing suits and heading to the party. A friend of Andrew's, Macy, greets them. They make small talk that quickly turns into juicy gossip about some mom having an affair with the local school principal. Macy quickly apologizes when she realizes David is listening to her. Macy and Andrew continue their gossip session while at the party. Then she points his attention to a mother who just walked in with her daughter. Andrew can't believe his eyes. He thinks the woman they are looking at is too young and pretty to be a mom. Macy points out that the woman in question is the one who had an affair with the principal. She also mentions that the woman's daughter is autistic and started school late. Later, Andrew observes the party and cringes at how awkward the atmosphere is. Barely anyone wants to dance, and those who dare to do so are often left hanging on the dance floor. He decides to approach David and his friends, asking them why they are not dancing. A kid named Rodrigo admits that he'd love to dance, but the music just isn't to his liking. Andrew asks what song the boy prefers to dance to, promising he'll get the DJ to play it. Meanwhile, Dominic, the subject of gossip earlier, is making sure her daughter is occupied with games to play at the table. Back to Andrew, we see him talking to the mother of the celebrant, catching up, and being social. When Andrew's employment status becomes the topic of their conversation, he shifts the topic to something else. Instead, he offers to be a party starter who will get the crowd worked up and ready to dance. Looks like this man is quite talented when it comes to social interactions. Seconds later, Andrew approaches Domino and her daughter, asking them if they want to dance. The lovely mom declines the invitation at first, stating how they're not in the mood. Andrew then puts his social skills on display once again as he navigates the conversation in a way that makes both mother and daughter comfortable and amused. The smile on Domino's face says it all. The party that was awkward earlier is now beaming with life, all thanks to Andrew. Everyone is dancing and having fun. The parents are even shooting down alcohol as well. While romantic music plays, Andrew approaches Domino again, letting her know he wants to ask her daughter Lola to dance. Domino is sure her daughter will decline the offer, citing the young girl's condition as a reason. Still, Andrew is confident he can get Lola to dance, and he even puts $300 on the line. Domino watches as Andrew approaches her daughter. In a matter of seconds, Lola stands up and follows him to the dance floor. Despite her awkward movements, he makes sure to guide her and make her feel comfortable. Unable to contain her joy and surprise, Domino can't help but smile while looking at the wholesome scene. After the party, Andrew and David walk back to the car together. The older brother gives the younger boy advice on how to woo David's crush. This is when Domino and Lola walk towards them. The lovely mom thanks Andrew for dancing with them. She also brings out her phone to transfer the money she owed him, but before she can do so, they are interrupted by a group of mothers. They're there to let him know that he should be a motivational dancer for their children's bar mitzvahs as well. This is certainly something Andrew never expected. What a lucky guy. When he gets home, Andrew tells his mother about the new job offer. Naturally, his mom is excited for him, but he has his reservations. Greg chimes in, asking him how much a party starter would make. The older gentleman doesn't mean to offend with his line of questioning, but Andrew still responds with a sarcastic remark, much to his mother's displeasure. Back at Domino's house, she's scratching her daughter's back to help her sleep. She asks Lola if she's thinking about Andrew when she's actually the one thinking about him. Lola reveals she's only thinking about what to feed her pet hamster Jerry the next day. Curious, Domino asks Lola what Andrew said that got her to dance. The girl reveals Andrew promised to buy her an expensive cube using the $300 Domino will give him. Well played, Andrew. Well played. They also briefly talk about how Andrew might be a good babysitter for Lola. Going back to Andrew, he expresses to his mom and brother how much he dislikes Greg. He also tells them that he's going to move out as soon as he has the means to do so. David chimes in, saying that even if his father is he puts up with it because he's good for his mom. Andrew is not convinced, so he asks his mom if she's happy with him. Rather than refer to the relationship, his mom says she's happy because she doesn't have to worry about a lot of things because of Greg, implying it's a relationship born of practicality. Changing the topic, his mom asks what his new party starter business will be called. Turns out David already came up with a name for it. Jig Conductor. They even film an awkward video for the business. The next morning, Andrew's mom watches the video and encourages him to finish it. Contrary to her opinion, Andrew loathes it. He insists he doesn't want to make an ad for his services because he doesn't want to treat it like a job, even if it essentially is one. While arguing with his mom, he mentions he just wants to save enough money to move to Barcelona. When his mom asks if he wants to go there because of Maya, he denies it. He says it's a place he always wanted to move to. Of course, we know he's straight up lying. The conversation gets messier, and Andrew ends up telling his mom to shut up and stop trying to help him. The next scene takes place at another bar mitzvah party. Andrew is doing a good job being a party starter and showcasing his people skills. As expected, Domino and Lola are also there having a great time. At one point, his client sees him drinking some alcohol, so he gets reprimanded. He makes an excuse, saying he's just drinking water, and the label on the bottle is fake. Later in the night, we see Domino feeling uncomfortable. We later see her in the bathroom, clutching her stomach. While an inappropriate song is playing, Andrew spots Lola leaving after talking to a boy. Andrew's sense of justice kicks in, so he confronts the little prick who was mean to Lola. Unfortunately, this lands him in hot water. The mean kid's father shows up and gets into an argument with Andrew. The older man also smells alcohol in his breath, which makes the situation worse. Andrew tries to talk back, but his client steps in and kicks him out of the venue for being rude to the guests. While heading out, Andrew spots Lola sitting by herself. He asks her what the mean kid said to her and also shares that he almost fought the kid in question, much to Lola's surprise. Thankfully, she doesn't seem affected by the incident. Andrew then looks for Domino and finds her stuck in the women's restroom. The woman admits she has a bloody situation and asks for Andrew's help to get her some paper towels. Believing it's a period accident, he complies and grabs towels. At first, he tries to hand it over the door, but since Domino is struggling to grab them, he tries to hand them under the door. This causes the door to open, and Andrew sees the unfortunate bloody situation that is definitely not just a period accident. Domino proceeds to ask him for a favor, explaining how she doesn't want the parents to see her and thinking she murdered someone. Even when Andrew offers her his coat, she insists that will only give other parents more ammo for their gossip. Andrew comes up with a creative way to get her out of the situation. He talks to Lola again and asks her to go back to the party and talk to David. We see the kids approaching a t-shirt stall, and then the next thing we see is Domino changing into an oversized t-shirt. Seconds later, Andrew, Domino, David, and Lola all exit the bathroom wearing oversized shirts. This way, the attention is towards the group instead of just Domino. After exiting the premises, Andrew also drives the mother and daughter duo back to their home. Once there, Lola gets ready for bed, while Andrew and Domino talk in the kitchen. Andrew's eyes show a mix of concern and a tinge of admiration for the older woman. Domino just wants to get out of her shirt and rest. She's had a rough night after all. While on top of the stairs, Andrew asks once again if she's all right. She appreciates his concern and reassures him she's fine. But this isn't really the case, because as soon as she's inside, she breaks down crying. Andrew can hear her clearly despite the loud faucet. While in the living room, Lola spots Andrew and asks where her mom is. Not wanting to reveal the breakdown, Andrew just tells her Domino is brushing her teeth. With a hint of excitement, she offers to show him her hamster, and Andrew enthusiastically agrees. During the course of their small talk, Andrew becomes closer to Lola, and she also feels more comfortable with his presence. Despite her being an awkward conversationalist, Andrew still carries the conversation well. Heading out of Lola's room, Andrew stumbles upon Domino. They engage in small talk while exchanging endearing looks. She gives him the option to wait for her in the living room so they can talk some more. Looks like we know where this is going. Later in the living room, Andrew asks an important question, which is if Domino is married. She's not, but she admits she has a fiancé named Joseph. But he's not Lola's biological father. Domino sits down and gleefully admits that she feels very comfortable around Andrew, but she's not sure why. The conversation steers towards Lola, and Andrew offers to be a potential babysitter for the teenager. Domino doesn't outright accept his proposal, but based on how she's staring at him, it's clear this is not the last time they'll be seeing each other. Andrew writes his contact details and reminds her to call if ever she needs some time for herself. While Andrew waits for his Uber, the conversation turns serious once more. Domino finally admits that the incident earlier that night at the party was a miscarriage. Unfortunately, Joseph doesn't know about her pregnancy, which means the rumors about her are true. Andrew grasps for a response, but he ends up just offering her a listening ear if she needs it. Despite the heaviness of the topic, Domino chooses to get on top of Andrew and kiss him. However, the protagonist, being a decent man, doesn't take advantage of the situation. He knows it doesn't seem right to make love at such an uneasy moment. On his way back home, he contemplates whether he made the right choice. The next day, at work, Andrew still can't get Domino out of his mind. He ends up calling his friend Macy. At night, he pours all his unreleased passion towards his friend as they engage in awkward intercourse. Later, while in the bathroom, Andrew checks Maya's social media and sees her hanging out with a new guy. Naturally, he feels a pang of jealousy. After a while, he goes back to Macy's room and they reminisce about the time they were classmates. She can't believe they shared an intimate moment. They also briefly touch on the fact that they aren't satisfied with their respective careers. A very relatable feeling. In another scene, Andrew gives David some brotherly advice on how to woo the boy's crush. The young boy admits that he wants to have his first kiss, but he's not sure how to make it happen. The ever-supportive Andrew comes up with some advice that sounds great, but in reality, he's pulling all of this out of thin air. On a different day, after driving David to school, Andrew tells the boy to be nice to Lola and make sure she's not getting. While on a jog, reality hits Andrew as he opens his social media. It's clear that Maya is dating someone new, someone more attractive than him. As a way to cope, Andrew tries doing some push-ups in his room, but he quickly realizes how unfit he actually is. In the next scene, Andrew is applying for a job interview as a social worker for children who have ALS. However, he's not really doing well answering the interview questions. He even makes a mistake by saying ASL instead of ALS. Needless to say, this interview is a disaster. Fast forward to another bar mitzvah party. Andrew is teaching David and another kid how to dance. His attention is quickly diverted when Domino walks into the venue. She tells him she couldn't contact him because she lost the napkin where he wrote his number. She also informs him that Joseph is with her and Lola at the venue. There is subtle tension when Andrew finally meets Domino's fiancé. Still, Andrew navigates the conversation well enough that Joseph has no idea he's being played for a fool. We find out Joseph is a lawyer who is always out of town because his cases are often in Chicago. However, he insists that he doesn't want his future family to move there. Domino and Joseph plan to have their wedding in that town. At the end of the introductions, Domino looks at Andrew with a hint of adoration and a dash of mischief. The party commences without a hitch, and Andrew displays his skill as a party starter in a lively dance floor. Then, later, while on a break, he bumps into Domino again. He expresses surprise about officially becoming Lola's babysitter. Yet at the same time, he is excited to hang out with Domino's daughter. The older woman shares the same excitement, perhaps due to other reasons as well, if you know what I mean. The next scene shows Andrew playing a game of Scrabbles with Lola, and he's getting his ass beat. After this, he prepares Lola for bed, making sure she already fed her hamster and brushed her teeth. Andrew is doing a good job at this babysitter thing. Later, he spends some time with Domino as they enjoy popsicle sticks, whatever these are. The conversation is lighthearted and a little flirtatious, but the sexual tension is palpable. However, Andrew steers the conversation into more serious territory as he inquires if Domino has ever been depressed. She quickly responds, saying that she has always been depressed. Domino admits she was depressed before Lola was born, but points out that raising her made her a better person. She talks about the profound feeling of not knowing what a better state of mind feels like, mentioning how she's afraid of doing things that are actually good for her. Andrew opens up about his mom having bipolar disorder, and she always told him how sometimes it's easier for people to be sad. Yet Andrew's mom always fought with her demons, choosing to be a better person. He shares this with the intention of making Domino feel better. He doesn't really have to try that hard to impress her, because at this point the way she looks at him says it all. Anyway, despite all the tension, nothing spicy really happens. Andrew chooses to be a nobleman once again, but that's open to interpretation. Later that evening, Andrew's mom sees him eating cereal alone, so she sits close and talks to him. When she brings up she is willing to help him during his trip to Spain, Andrew delivers the heartbreaking news about Maya's new relationship. She gives him some words of encouragement, saying how he's too good for Maya. Andrew knows she's just saying that to make him feel good, but he still appreciates her for that. The next scene shows Andrew successfully hosting another party. Of course, Domino, Lola, and Joseph are also present. After the party, the three of them approach Andrew. Joseph and Domino plan to go on a date, so they need Andrew to babysit Lola again. Fast forward to that day, Andrew finishes playing another game with Lola. He still can't beat her. When he asks her what else she wants to do, the teenager doesn't really know what to suggest. Andrew reads the room correctly, sensing that Lola's social battery might be getting depleted. She admits that sometimes she needs time to recuperate, preferring the company of an empty room instead. Andrew grants her that wish and allows her some time alone. Sometime later, Lola steps out into the living room, declaring her readiness for bed. This time, she doesn't mind if Andrew scratches her back so she can fall asleep, an act that only Domino usually does for her. Later, Joseph and Domino finally arrive back from their date, but there seems to be some tension between the couple. Joseph hints at this by asking Andrew if he wants to be a pseudo-couples counselor. At this point, it's evident they are both drunk and can't maintain a proper conversation with Andrew, which makes the atmosphere uneasy. Andrew doesn't want to overstep, so he takes Joseph's payment and leaves. The next day, while looking for his work uniform, Andrew continues giving his brother some bad dating advice. Poor David has no idea his brother's tips might make him look like a creep, but at least he's happy someone is giving him some guidance. On his way to work, Andrew receives an unexpected call. The nonprofit organization he applied to wants him to work for them, despite the previous disastrous interview. Looks like he's finally turning his life around. While at the mall, he gets a text from Domino, requesting he babysit Lola again. This time, he declines the request, stating he has plans. Immediately after sending the reply, he calls Macy asking her to hang out that night. Fast forward to the evening, Andrew is having the time of his life at a club, dancing like there's no tomorrow. Moments later, guess who he sees? Of course it's Domino. What are the odds? Anyway, as he walks towards the bar, he makes sure to pass right in front of Domino, letting his presence be known to her. Of course, she can't help but join him at the bar seconds later. She playfully asks him what he's trying to pull off. She should be asking who he's trying to pull, which the answer being her. Anyway, Andrew sees Macy's text. She's at another bar at this point, so instead of following, he opts to spend time with Domino instead. They even have a moment at the dance floor. Both seem like they're holding back some primal urge. After dancing, the two make their way to the smoking area. This is when Andrew starts to grill Domino about her relationship, asking why she chose Joseph as her fiancé. In response, Domino expresses her desire for stability, something that Andrew finds hard to believe given how she's been going around sleeping with other men. She understands what she said might not be convincing, but Domino insists being firmly planted in the adult world is what she truly desires. Andrew further asks if Joseph is Domino's soulmate, a question that she finds funny. However, he is serious about his beliefs in soulmates. He even elaborates further by describing Domino as someone who would encounter 4 soulmates in her life. However, this sweet moment is disrupted when Andrew falls down due to being too drunk. The next scene takes place in Domino's home. She's dressing Andrew's cut while describing her imagined life if she were to live in Chicago. She proceeds to talk about a dream she had, one involving Lola and Andrew. After describing the vivid dream, she starts tearing up. She opens up about being married to Lola's dad in the past, but he eventually left. After this, she thanks Andrew for being a good babysitter for Lola, but she then requests that he stop being her babysitter. Confused, Andrew asks why. All she can say is that she wants Andrew to live out the rest of his 20s. Of course, he's not buying her excuse. He believes there are things she's not saying. More specifically, he thinks Domino is holding back the desire to be close to him. The next few seconds prove Andrew right as Domino moves closer for a kiss that quickly turns into a sinful makeout session. Unfortunately, before the situation turns into a home run, Joseph comes home earlier than expected. Domino quickly instructs Andrew to exit through the back door, not giving him a chance to get a word in. Once again, Andrew goes home feeling more conflicted than ever before. Unfortunately, he takes out his frustration on his little brother, who is just trying to strike up a conversation. Pissed off, Andrew straight up tells David that he was just pulling advice out of his ass whenever he gave the kid tips. Naturally, David feels betrayed and claps back at Andrew, pointing out the man's lack of a girlfriend. Their overall interaction that night is simply unpleasant. During the next party, Joseph and Lola approach Andrew. Our protagonist gives Lola a gift, the one he promised to buy her a while back. Once Lola takes her leave, Joseph delivers the news to Andrew that they won't be needing him as a babysitter anymore. When he asks Joseph about Domino, the lawyer just gives vague, short answers. This triggers Andrew, and he almost argues with Joseph, but the older man quickly de-escalates the conversation and steps away. Later, Andrew does something he shouldn't be doing as a party starter, which is getting drunk. While in the restroom, Greg and Andrew engage in small talk that quickly turns unpleasant. Andrew just can't help but be vile towards his stepfather. When he finally steps out into the party area, Andrew's mom confronts him because he was supposed to start the party earlier. After realizing he is drunk, she scolds him some more, pointing out that he can't be intoxicated because he has a job to do. Andrew also bumps into David, who apologizes for saying mean things to him. He simply gives the kid some words of encouragement before taking to the stage and doing his job. Finally, David musters up the courage to talk to his crush, inviting her to walk outside, hoping to create an opportunity for a kiss. They eventually find a quiet corner for their big moment, but David is nervous, so he makes small talk first. When he finally tries to ask his crush if she wants to kiss, his attention is diverted to Lola, who is currently being picked on by some vile kids. While on the stage, Andrew sees the commotion going on in the back. The mean kids have stolen Lola's toy, and David is helping her retrieve it. Rodrigo, David's friend, also enters the scene and starts throwing punches. As Andrew tries to stop the fight, chaos ensues. One of the fathers ends up accidentally punching Andrew's mom. As a result, Greg also steps up and throws a mean punch, knocking out the mean kid's father. While driving away from the party, Greg lectures Andrew about setting up professional boundaries. Andrew expresses how the kids who were being pricks deserved their injuries. Rodrigo, who also happens to be in the car for some reason, compliments Greg's punch. For the first time, Andrew actually has something positive to say about his stepfather, who knew all it takes was a violent confrontation to make Andrew friendly towards Greg. Upon arriving home, Andrew frantically searches for his car keys, intending to go somewhere. Despite Greg's warning, Andrew insists that he has to head out to visit a friend. After finally finding his keys, he also takes some time to apologize to David for all the mean things he said the other night. He also rescinds all the previous advice he gave the boy, emphasizing that David also needs to ask himself what he wants for himself. With that, the brothers reconcile, and Andrew heads off to Domino's house. Naturally, when Domino opens her door, she is surprised to see Andrew, especially since that night's party isn't over yet. For Andrew, this is a now or never moment. He pours his heart out. First, he states his assumption about Domino not really wanting to get married to Joseph. He follows this up by declaring his love for her, something Domino doesn't believe. Domino admits that she feels alive whenever she's with Andrew, but she points out that they're not in a relationship and makes it clear that she will never be in a relationship with him, specifically because he's a much younger man. The love-struck Andrew firmly believes that getting into a relationship with someone is a snap decision. He is making the classic mistake that hot-blooded young males make. Fortunately, Domino tries her best to snap him back to reality. She points out he doesn't even have a firm grasp of his identity yet, so how can he be so sure of loving someone? Desperate, Andrew suggests a kiss, but Domino denies him this request as well. Domino is set on marrying Joseph. She makes it clear that this is what she wants, despite her history of cheating on the man. Finally, Andrew realizes that when Domino said back then she was afraid of things that would be good for her, she was talking about Joseph, not him. As if things couldn't be more awkward, Joseph arrives. Andrew tries to make his exit, but Joseph catches up to him just before he can drive away. However, what comes next isn't a confrontation. Joseph thanks Andrew for looking out for Lola and his family, perhaps not realizing what is actually going on between Andrew and Domino. Either that, or he knows the truth, but is confident that he'll be the victor in the end. Andrew drives away, crying, unable to believe that for the first time, the boring guy won the girl over. This doesn't usually happen in romance movies, but here we are. Eventually, he pulls over near a gas station and calls his mom. He's too distraught to drive right then, so he asks for Greg to be picked up. Fortunately, the next scene paints a more positive light for Andrew. We see him finally starting his new job at the non-profit organization. He seems very much in his element, working in a job that suits him better. For a few moments, we also see Andrew passing by his old house for some reason. One day, he arrives home to see his mother painting something. He takes the time to apologize to her for indirectly causing her black eye. Also, he informs her he's no longer planning to go to Barcelona. However, he's still planning to move out, but not very far. It turns out the reason he's always passing by their old house is that he probably plans to move there. The mother and son share an emotional moment as Andrew describes his mother as someone who is a strong and beautiful person. On one rainy day, Andrew meets up with Domino again. He enters her car, and they engage in their final conversation. Domino says a few things that she forgot to mention during the night of Andrew's confession. Basically, Domino doesn't want to live the rest of her life having tangled relationships, which is why she chose the stable option of marrying Joseph. She wants the rest of her life to be defined by her family. Conversely, she believes Andrew has his entire life ahead of him, so she doesn't want him to be pulled into her life and be tied down. Andrew doesn't argue. He knows whatever little they had is over. Still, he expresses his emotions maturely. He admits that he still believes he is her soulmate, but he also accepts the fact that Joseph is Domino's soulmate too. Before leaving, she hands him an envelope that she was supposed to mail him. They look at each other with endearing eyes for one last time before separating. Still, Andrew can't help but shed some tears once he is back in his car. He starts getting more emotional as he sees Lola passing by. Later, after picking David up from school, he finds out his little brother finally kissed his crush. Naturally, Andrew gets excited and congratulates the teen. Back in his room, Andrew opens the envelope and sees $300 and a picture of him and Lola. Once again, this makes him rather melancholic. Then David enters the room with a sad look on his face. The boy admits that he's going to miss Andrew once he moves out. Fast forward to 6 months, and we see a series of scenes showing Andrew and Domino living their lives separately. She finally gets married, while Andrew reconnects with friends, both of them dancing, but in different places, happy and content.